is that some of you have not attended today's session. And today's session, as I told you before, is a very significant session. So some of you are on leave, some of you are on vacation, some of you have a kind of work that makes you to keep away from the place. So that is why I am adding a quick video session of what I have explained in the class today, right? And you have a task to complete after this. So if you look at today's agenda, what we are going to do today, we are going to talk about the research questions. What are the matrices that are going to assess research questions? These are the important things what we are going to discuss today. So let me share my window. So just kindly hold on. I'm sharing my window to you. Because research question that forms the fundamentals of a research. If the questions are well framed, your research becomes very easy. In the beginning, what we have told, we have identified a micro research title, we have found the objectives, we have learned how to set it. Now, today we are going to set how we are going to make sure our research questions are best to the best. So members, I'm going to share my screen. Let me start sharing my screen. Just give me a few minutes. So I hope you can see my screen well. So today we are going to see how to validate our micro research question. Since it is a recorded video, I'll be surfing a bit faster with the content. So what we are going to see today, as a researcher, you have your own research story from heart. That is the first thing. I told you that research has to come from heart. It should not be for a specific reason you are doing research, because if research has to be beautiful, it has to come from heart. So let me call about a research that I proposed today that came from my heart. As you know, I have a girl child and she's doing her basics. So I was wondering, me and my family, my wife, we used to grow up her like an individual without gender bias. But we can see a lot of bias based on gender. That is the biggest challenge. So I thought, what are the challenges that are met by the female gender or the women or girls that who come to business by the banking institutions? Which means that this is my assumption. I'm not sure, because as a researcher, you can have a lot of assumptions, but you have to make sure your assumptions are right. So I was thinking, as my daughter grows up and if she want to do a business, what is going to happen to her when she approaches a banking institution, whether she'll be properly fed, whether they are going to face any extra challenges compared to men in business. These are some kind of questions that came into my mind, especially when I say an access to financial support, which means that a lady entrepreneur, when she goes to a bank seeking for a financial support, whether there will be a bias, And ultimately, I want to know what are the challenges faced by these lady entrepreneurs and what kind of biases they receive or they face, or the challenges they face when they approach banking institutions. Ultimately, at the end, I want to develop a model or a model that can help these lady entrepreneurs to be informed how to manage these challenges. So I'm not doing for just for myself. In most of the places there will be a chamber of commerce. So these are some ideas that came into my mind today at 3 o'clock in the morning before I thought of doing a session for you. So these are some background what I'm going to tell you. This is how I am entering into a new research, and there is a reason why I entered to that research. But I don't know where is my girl going to come up her business, whether she going into a business. But I'm just telling, no, I'm just saying that there is a scope for a research. So what I have done, I've just tried to redefine that research to the Kampala city. And I just want to say, I want to work in liaison with, or my stakeholder could be the Kampala Chamber of Commerce, so that what are the challenges faced by small and medium scale women entrepreneurs in Kampala district, which I'm going to do with the micro research. So I was telling my story, what made me to think of such a research. Now, so I frame my research title as Gender Specific Entrepreneurial Challenges and Support Model for Women Owned SMEs in Kampala district. When you watch this video, use a pen and paper, which I used to tell you. The agenda for today's session is how to validate your research question. What are the parameters for validation? What are the methods by which we can validate? And ultimately, at the end, I'm going to give a parametric metrics to assess your research questions, and you have to complete that task. So that is the task for it today. So rolling back to my research title for today, Gender Specific Entrepreneurial Challenges and Support Model for Women-Owned SMEs in Kampala District. If you look at the title itself shows two things. It's going to be an exploration and analysis and examination of the challenges faced by women entrepreneurs or entrepreneurs in Kampala. And the researcher, me, I want to develop a support model for these women-owned SMEs. So you got what is my exploration, what is my examination, and what is the outcome of my research. Along with this session, we are going to see how to set the aims, how to set the objectives, what is the role of research questions in framing the aims of the research and objectives of the research. So let's start the journey for today. Now, I have framed three research questions. Since it is a micro level, I recommend three research questions. We are doing it a micro level research. So these are the three research questions that came into my mind. Is there any, what are the gender specific challenges do women entrepreneurs in SME space in Kampala? As I told you, this is me as a researcher, my assumption, women, lady entrepreneurs, the female gender have to face some bias, parity, or challenges, which is more on into financial institutions. So how do financial institutions practice influence on women entrepreneurs to access business credit? Are they easily give, or they see with a bias? If a lady gets steps into a bank with a business project for a credit, will they say that, oh, do you have a business background? Are you from a business entity? Do you have the capacity to repay? These are all assumptions. So this is a research to support today's topic of discussion. Then my next research question, which support strategies that can help women entrepreneurs to manage these challenges more effectively? So if you look at research question 1, research question 2, and research question 3, you can see it in three levels. The first level is the curiosity of the researcher. Is there any gender specific challenges? The second question, it is bit more examination in nature, whether these financial institutions has some kind of practices to influence the women entrepreneurs. Always there is a saying, empower women. And if there is a challenge, what is the solution? So that is the level in which you have to develop your research question. Just don't blindly put or make research questions for the purpose of making a research question. Your research question is the foundation stone or the tile that makes your research perfect. So keep that in mind. When you frame a research question, if it is of three, it should have layers, sequential layers. Your curiosity level, your examination level, and the outcome level. This is more important. I repeat, your curiosity level or inquiry level, your examination level, and at the end, the model what you're going to develop. That is the solution level. So this is how I try to make the research questions for this research. Now, I shown you the research questions very plainly, but I'm going to examine them in a bit more better way. See this one? So if you look at this research question, what you are seeing on the screen, here I've changed the color and some kind of highlight as given. So if you look at the first question, what you see in red, this is the focus, gender specific challenges. To whom? Women entrepreneurs. Where? SMEs. Which place? Kambala district. So you see the focus. You see the clarity. This is more important. This is the most important thing. This is the most important thing because otherwise research will be a challenging task for you all. Research will be good if it is done with the properly refined or properly made research questions. Otherwise, we end up in bad situations. Now you look at the second research question here. The second research question, what I am exploring, its specificity is there. Financial institution practices. So look behind my idea. I'm going to see whether there is a bias, there is challenges because of accessing financial credit. So access to business credit. Look at the third question. Am I able to develop a kind of support strategies to manage these challenges effectively? So if you look at one, I repeat, the first was an inquiry, the second was an examination, the third was a solution. So when you make your research question, try to use your highlighters and try to mark which are the key things which you are going to explore. So this can help you to avoid duplication. This can help you to avoid ambiguity. This can give you more clarity because research questions, I repeat again and again, research questions are the fundamental things of the research. Otherwise, your research will be lost. Now, based on this research question, I have three research questions. Based on this, I'm going to develop three aims of my research. Look at here. The first aim of my research, I told it is an exploration to explore the unique challenges encountered by women entrepreneurs in Kampala in the SME sector. So there is a link between my first research question of inquiry to an exploration. And the second aim to examine is there any gender bias differences in accessing financial and business support system. So I'm doing some examination. And the third one, to propose a practical support model to strengthen the success of women entrepreneurs. So you can see now exploration, analysis or examination, and coming back to your model. So this is how, these aims of the research are based on the research questions. So you can see there is a linkage, there is a synchronization between the research questions and the aims of the research. They are one-to-one mapped in all levels. I told you there are three levels in this research question. First level, an exploration. second level, an examination, third level, a solution. So this mapping you have to keep in your mind. So you can note down when you frame the research question, from the research question, when you move to the research aims, you have to see that one-to-one mapping. It is not necessary, but if it is there, that makes your research a better one. Now, if you see the objectives of the research, input for the aim of the research are the research questions. Now, input for the objectives are the aims of the research questions, are the aims of the research. Now you can see how objectives are directly influenced by research questions. Research questions map to aims, aims map to your objectives. If you look at the first aim of my research, to identify the major socio-economic and business challenges faced by women SME entrepreneurs, isn't it? So it's very clear. I'm exploring. The second one, to assess, because in my aim, I am examining, so I am assessing to extent to which the financial access differs between women and men non-SMEs. And third one, to determine is any strategies that can effectively develop to support women entrepreneurs in overcoming these challenges. So research questions forms the input for your objectives of research. The yes, directly correct. The research questions form the objectives of your research, but it is directly linked using your aims. Research questions forms your aims, aims forms your objectives. This is very clear for you. So now we have seen the importance of research questions in forming the aims, then to the objectives of your research or micro research. Now, you can stop in between and you can think of this and you can map the same with your research, micro research, what you're doing. What you have to check is my research questions are in the level in which what I have mentioned here. For micro research, only 3 research questions, 3 aims, 3 objectives. Now you look at the layer of your research question. Is the one for exploration, one for examination, one for a model outcome? This is what you have to make sure. Now, the keywords. As I told you, in my if you watch my video, if you rewind my video, you can see that I was explaining the research questions with some highlights and some color changes. These all forms the keywords of your research: women entrepreneurship, gender barriers, SME sector, financial access, entrepreneurial challenges, gender parity, business support models focused on Kampala. And micro research, just leave it that side because we are doing it as a micro research. Why it is micro? Our population size is very less. We are not going to explore more. And with this micro research, we are not going to generalize everything in Uganda. Maybe in Kampala district, we can. Which more generalization can be done? Generalization with the research can be done when we have more sample size. Since we are using micro research to learn how to do a practical research, so I cannot assure that this micro research may not fulfill that generalization aspect. Then key is women empowerment. All right. So these are the keywords. Now, so you have seen my 3 research questions. Now we are going to see how we are going to validate these research questions. These are the 9 parameters what we are using to validate research questions. The 9 parameters are alignment. So since your micro research has been taken from one of the objectives of your major research, the first alignment you have to make sure it is directly linked to your one of your main objectives of your major research. But apart from that, when you are doing your major research, I can tell you it should be in alignment with your domain knowledge. I told many times about your domain knowledge, your highest education, and your professional experience. This forms your domain knowledge. So alignment with your domain knowledge at this juncture, it should be directly aligned with the main objective of your major research. Then specificity. then researchability, clarity, logical relationship, feasibility, originality, relevance, and ethical acceptability. So, what I want to tell you now, it should be aligned. You know what? It should be aligned with the what you're trying to do. Then specificity. So here, if you take this typical example, it is very specific, gender-specific challenges, specific to Kampala, specific to SME sector, isn't it? That is specificity. What is researchability? Now, when you try to do a research, this is a scope for research. Yes, we have a scope here. We can collect data, we can do interviews, we can get information what we need to do. That is, there is a scope for researchability. Then clarity, it's very clear. As I told, the specific and clarity more or less synonymous. Clear terms, women entrepreneurs, small scale, small and medium entrepreneurs. Kampala, see, that's all things gives clarity. It's not vague. Because if you want to get a proper answer, you should frame a proper question. Like that in research, if you frame a proper research question, your research will be in the right dimension. Next is logical relationship. Yes, we know there is a logical relationship here because we think that there can be a problem when women investors or the people who want to do business, the ladies want to do business, they approach bank, there can be. So there is a challenge. Maybe there may not be a challenge. There can be a challenge. There could be a challenge. We have to check it, isn't it? Because without a proper data analytics, proper research, we cannot say that. Then feasibility, yes, the population is accessible for us, isn't it? There is no confidential information. So maybe there may be less, but the percentage of confidentiality is less here. It can be available. Originality. What is originality? This is the actual research gap we are going to explore. Now, I say here, Kampala context is under research. I have not gone through my review of literature to see that whether this is underexplored or not. But I still tell you, originality means, are you generating a new knowledge or are you bridging the gap? And I told you the major four gaps we can do. It can be a theory to practice gap. Because women empowerment is a philosophy, but whether it is actually practiced. And do we have enough data to prove all these things? That is, it can be a data gap or a contextual gap. Maybe in other countries, women are more empowered for business. So it can be a contextual gap. It can be a theoretical gap. Or it can be a practice gap. Or previously, some studies have done, but still not. It has become a temporal gap now. Or what we can say that we speak empowerment, but do we have used the proper scientific methodology or methods to validate whether empowerment is happening, especially in the case of finance sanctions or financial approval for these businesswomen? So that is one. Now, relevance. Yes, relevance is there because I'm working for a stakeholder that is our Chamber of Commerce. They can give policy guidelines. They are also people who influence policy makers. So then ethical acceptability. No, this we are not getting into any other ethical challenges. So there is no ethical risk. But I'll tell you, when you're doing a research, if a proper research, you should get approval from the ethical research committees. So these are the 9 parameters that we have to validate our research questions. So the task for you, I'm not yet finished, but I'm just telling you write your 3 research questions. I need you only 3 research questions. Should be in the first level of exploration, second level of examination, third level of an outcome model building, isn't it? So check your research questions for all these 9 parameters. Don't worry about ethical acceptability. That is why I tell you, don't get sensitive things on board for your micro research. Something related to politics, something related to governance, something related to administration. No, these all, it's not our business now. What is our business now? Our business is how to learn practical research through a micro research, which will help us to glide swiftly in our major research. So these parameters we have to check. This is the most important thing for a research scholar. So now I told these parameters. Now, what are the methods I used to make these parameters working for you? Now you set the parameters. I'm not discussing about the ethical thing because we don't want to do a micro research which has ethical issues. We don't want to touch it. So what are the methods what we can do? Before that, I tell you one thing. The fundamental parameter for all these parameters is review of literature, which means that what all researches that happened in on the same scenario previously, the research is currently happening. It can be from the government, it can be any publications by the government or personal experience. You can get all these things in the newspaper. It can be from research journals, it can be on books published, it can be on videos what you watch. So there is a lot of source. It can be from articles from websites, relevant. But make sure whenever you do the review of literature, keep that focus. What are the focus? Your keywords are the focus. Keywords are the focus. So that is important thing. So for all these parameters, the basic method is review of literature. Basic is review of literature. It is a 100%. Now, if you look at the alignment, you compare with your major research objective of your major research. And you can see, check for conceptual fit in review of literature. Again, you come back to me with me as your micro research supervisor, you can come back to me. So this shows your alignment. Now, if you talk about specificity, I will teach you more on variables, but at the time you can see that there are specific variables, that the financial support of it, whether there is a kind of challenges what they come accessing bank loans. So break into variables and sub variables. What is a variable and a sub variable? The relation between X and Y, how X is influencing Y. So Y is something that is being influenced. X is the independent variable, Y is the dependent variable. So you find out the variables, then you can cross check with your peers, discuss with among other scholars. You can check with people who are in business in the same area. Then check for researchability, because whenever you are doing a micro research or major research, you have to make sure there is a scope for researchability. That is more important. There is a scope for researchability. Am I able to do it? Do I have the sources? Do I have access to data? Can I do it? This is more important. So that is also an important factor for researchability. Do you have enough empirical or similar studies done? And even you can do a pilot study also, a mini testing. So this is a kind of pilot study. Then clarity and precision. Whenever you make your research, you can talk to other people. You can check with other scholars, and you check whether these all are operational. So get the clarity and precision. Logical relationship, I told you whether there is a relation between one and the other. So for this, you have to use, again, theoretical support. You have to go back to review of literature, and you can check on the causality and order association, which is reasonable. No, one is causing the other one. Next one is feasibility. Can you do it in time? Do you have resource? Can you do a study? Which methods you can do? You can dream big, but we have limited time. So the extent of dream what you make, it has to come in reality. So think of a research that is feasible, isn't it? So you have to make sure that. Then originality and novelty. I told that maybe the research what I proposed, there may be a gap. I don't know, but still, when I go for my review of literature and I look at the articles published by different government entities, private entities, and itself the experience of the private business people, because I know there is a lot of support given here, but I don't know whether it is for everybody. Then relevance. So what you have to make sure, when you talk to people, whether they are able to ready to disclose. Yeah, so that is also important. Whenever you frame a research, don't work on much on data which need to be confidential. Such scenarios, it will be difficult for you. So think of a generalized topic where all these parameters can come. So your research question each of your question you have to check with these parameters. Now, if you doubt that, there is a problem for researchability. So when you set your research question, check with the relevant people who the area in which you are working. That is why I told you should have a stakeholder for your research. The stakeholders will help us. The stakeholder for your research will help us to get these parameters properly assessed along with the review of literature. They can give you insights. They can help you to identify people who struggle in these areas or people who are directly related in these areas. So likewise, I took Chamber of Commerce as my stakeholder. You also find your stakeholder. This is why I always say that stakeholder is a must. Is a must when we do micro research. Stakeholder is a must and must when we do the micro research. Otherwise, we will have a lot of challenges what we are going to face. So what you are going to see: alignment, you check specificity, researchability, clarity, logical relationship, feasibility, originality, and relevance. So this is what we have to do in our micro research questions. So this is the major topics which I want to discuss with you. And what is meant by specificity? That we are going to, because I repeated, but quickly I go through this. What is specificity means? Specificity means we are focusing on a clear concept, not on many concepts. As I told you, you can find a lot of things on your way, but it is not easy to work on everything because we have limited time. So focus, more clarity. At least try to establish one relationship. Many relationships are available between the variables. At least minimum one or two relationship. That should not be a very broad one. Then population. That is the context. So just think of one context. Don't go for many contexts. Some people try to do a micro research with a lot of comparative studies. Don't go for that. You can do well, and well, if you have time, you can do it. Resources, if you have, you can do it. So, and what all things you do, it should be measurable and it should not be vague things, because measurability is the most important part. It should be quantifiable as well as qualitatively done. Because the micro research, what we are going to implement here in this sessions, it's basically using both phases, quantitative and qualitative phase. So you can see here, the micro research questions is specific. It focuses on clear concept, targets a population, it use precise measurable terms. So that is why I told that what financial access barriers women owned SMEs face in Kampala district, especially on financial things. So what I want to tell you, why it is more important, this specificity will help us to get well within our research. The specificity will help us to get well, deep into our research. We will have more focus. Because if you make a broad question, it becomes unsearchable. I don't say unsearchable, it is searchable, but it may be unmanageable. That is the more thing. No, if you put a lot of load on your shoulder, you cannot move to your destination. So don't make it as a big thing, micro research, make it as micro. And if you are specific, confusions will be avoided, ambiguity, unnecessary variables will not come. You see, if unnecessary variables will not come, means that data will be clean. Data will be clean. Otherwise, you'll have a lot of noise in the data, and unrequired data will be collecting. So waste of time, waste of resource. Again, you have to clean the data. So if it is specific, it forces the researcher to zoom in and very specific. Otherwise, you will be on zoom out. Yeah. So that is more important. That is more important. Now, how we know a question is specific? I told you the parameters. Apart from that, these questions, if they are specific, if the question is specific to one idea, two idea, or three idea. So is there only one main idea in this question? That is more important. Or sometimes when you frame questions, you can see many sub ideas coming. So one idea, we focus only on one idea in our research. Now, the next question, can I answer this question with one method and one data set? If you need multiple data sets, it is very difficult. That's why I told you, if you take your research question, 3 levels, exploration, examination, and the model development. So that should be based, the research question should initiate all these things, these three areas. Now, like, can you able to develop a diagram in a question? X is related to Y, can I make a relation? So if you go back and see your research question, from each research question, you should be able to develop a clear relationship. Then only your research question becomes specific. So specificity, it gives focus, it targets population, it uses precise measurable terms. Now, if it is very broad and it will not be specific. If I talk about entire Uganda, it's huge. It's a big category. But if I narrow down to Kambala, again I narrow down to women-owned SMEs. So I'm getting more specificity. You can see this one. So this is when we talk about specificity, it has four dimensions. One is context specificity. Here the context is very clear. What is the context? The financial things. For whom? So that's why it has four dimensions when you take a research question. One is context specificity. The next is population specificity. I'm clearly mentioning women entrepreneurs. That is in SME in Kampala. That is population specificity. Variable specificity. Yes, we have discussed about the challenges, specifically the financial access challenges, isn't it? So in the banking segment. So that is variable specificity. The last one is more important, relationship specificity. Whether woman has, the lady entrepreneurs have a challenge. So you can build that context with relationship. So make sure your research question should have at least minimum, these all minimum things. Yeah? The four dimensions of specificity has to be there. So members, today's session, I have given you certain things or certain parameters, 9 parameters. I'm stripping off that ethical parameters because I don't want to get in anything that is related to ethics in this micro research, because we cannot get anything related to ethics in this one. So what I want to tell you here, make sure that your micro research, you are framing 3 research questions. These 3 research questions forms the basis of your aims of your micro research, forms the objectives of your micro research. There are 3 levels I've given when you frame the research question. One for exploration, the next one for examination, the third one for a solution. So based on this, please develop the research questions. I'm going to share you the parameters as a weight file. Now, this will help you to check how your research questions are well done or badly framed. Now, today will be the last session on the basic things of research questions and framing of your research. From next session onwards, we are starting the actual research because research questions are framed. So when the research questions are framed, you are going to set the aims of your research. You will be setting the objectives of your research. 3 research questions, 3 aims, 3 objectives. Then you will be able to identify the keywords. So when you set your research questions, check the parametric assessment metrics that I'm sharing with you now as a weight file that I'll share in the group. Then work on it, finalize it. Next class, next schedule, I'll not be discussing all these things further because I know it is very important. That is why I'm making this video, because I want you all to come on the same level of, as you are on that road. So I want you to all to come on the same road, because I know you have a lot of challenges because of your work, the nature, and a lot of things what you are around. So watch this video. Maybe I've driven it very fast because it should be done in short span of time. So almost 43 minutes done now. So rewind, use pen and paper, use headset, write it, note it. What all things I have mentioned from the beginning of my research till now, what is being explained this video has to come on paper for your micro research. So by end of this session, we are setting the research question. 3 research questions, 3 aims, 3 objectives. And the keywords. So next session, straight into research, we are going to run fast. All the best. Happy weekend. Enjoy the time. Don't forget. If you have any challenges, ping me on my WhatsApp. All the best. So Dr. Paul, I'm signing off now. Thank you.